Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything from the Pistons to the NBA draft and the Motor City Cruise.
And guys, we got a guest this week. We couldn't be more excited than we already are to be joined by our guy, Anthony. You might know him better as Pistons Talk, but it's Anthony from Pistons Talk, that great podcast. Anthony, man, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you spending a little bit of your Saturday afternoon here with us on the Pindown.
Hey, man, I love it. I get to talk Detroit Pistons at 12:30. Let's go.
Yeah, you can't beat it. And, of course, we're jumping on right after that really exciting game against the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, I know it wasn't perfect, right? They jump out to the big lead, and then the Hawks kind of fight back. But, man, did it make for some fun basketball. So, I'll just throw that to you first, Anthony, and then we'll dive into it a little deeper, any stats or trends that we want to get into. But, just overall, what were some of your thoughts and takeaways from that really great win?
That was an emotional roller coaster game. First quarter, I was like, okay, this is going to be a blowout. And then the turnovers happened, and I was like, okay, here we go again. Kind of like it gave me kind of like PTSD to the Lakers game. And then like you go all the way to the fourth quarter, you're like, I swear, if they lose on another buzzer beater, I don't know what I'm going to do. But yeah, man, the vibes have just been taking 20 years off my life watching the game, like last 2-3 minutes of the game. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy we got the win. Happy that we're 4-6. We got our fourth win in November. We had to wait all the way until January of last year, or this year rather, to get it. But yeah, man, really like what I'm seeing out of this team so far.
Yeah, thankfully they held that one out at the end. I mean, we saw what the conversation was after the Charlotte loss and that like heartbreaker and all the questions about how the team can create separation, like what Cade can do in the fourth quarter. And then Cade comes back the next game, hits a game winner plus a game winning block. I'm happy to finally see him get that game winner. If they blow that one, I feel like the conversation we're having today is totally different. And yeah, it wasn't great. You got to work on that. But man, I just thought like Dyson Daniels was playing incredible defense. Like he had 7 steals, and Jalen Johnson too is a great defender in his own right. So I thought it was a lot about what the Hawks were doing. The Pistons definitely need to like clean some things up, but thankfully they held on to that one because I don't want to know what the mood would be if they blew that.
And it's so interesting, right, Blake? Because we've gotten now, I think this is the second time for us on this show that we've been recording right after a game where like the narrative would have changed very dramatically had we recorded on a different day. So the previous one was we recorded after that Knicks game. And if we had just recorded earlier in the week, we would have gone on right after the Sixers win, right? So that would be, I mean, that's night and day. And then again, this week, we could have recorded right after that Hornets loss where you lose on the tip-in from Brandon Miller, where I think it was Malik Beasley missed the box out on him in the corner. Of course, it was a high turnover night. And then here, now against the Hawks, of course, they win, but Cade Cunningham had 7 turnovers. Jaden Ivey had 4. Like, this was by no means a clean game, but they got the win, so the narrative's just totally different. The vibes are totally different after it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, Cade, 3 triple doubles in a row. Like, he's playing out of his mind right now. The turnovers.
This was the best one, right? I'm not alone in that, right? I think this was the most impressive of the triple doubles so far.
Yeah, I mean, having 7 assists in the first quarter, setting NBA record, like, I think he's starting to find the balance of getting my teammates involved and then getting mine. And I think that's such a hard thing to do when you're a young player like Cade Cunningham is. And the fact that, he's learning it at 23 years old, like the future's so bright for him. And that's something I've talked about on my podcast is a lot of fans have been kind of getting on his ass of, being too, unselfish and, trying to get his shot. But I think he's finding a really good balance of involving his teammates and also taking over when he needs to take over.
Yeah, for sure. I think this was our guy Laz tweeted this out like after the game last night, that performance and like the highlights that Cade had, like those are things that people remember when it comes time to vote for All-Stars, to pick All-Stars. And I mean, just like any player having 3 triple doubles in a row is pretty impressive. Like it's super hard to do. And especially if it's not a guy like Jokic or back when it was Russell Westbrook doing it every night. So Cade is playing extremely well. And I mean, I liked how he only had like one shot in the first quarter, but he had the 7 assists, like you mentioned. So it seems like even when he's being hyper focused on by the defense, he's finding ways to make things happen. Turnovers obviously come with all that defensive pressure too, but still, it's not detrimental when the other team is trying to like take Cade away from the game, which is definitely a reason for optimism.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're going to end up circling back to Cade and also probably talk quite a bit about Jaden Ivey during the later parts of this podcast. But I wanted to make sure we took a look at that center position because I thought that that was something rather interesting out of this Hawks game, right? I mean, you don't want to build or take too many like larger season long or anything like that takeaways out of it. But this was the first game without Jalen Duren. Hopefully he heals up and that ankle gets better pretty soon. But Anthony, what did you see out of Isaiah Stewart as a starter, out of Paul Reed off the bench? Just what stood out with that?
I think the one thing with Isaiah Stewart that sometimes when I'm engaging with fans on Twitter, I feel like Isaiah Stewart is the most polarizing Detroit Pistons player because there are some people on the fence that absolutely love him, and there's some people that think he doesn't belong in the NBA, which I never understood. But I thought, so far this season, he has tried to protect the paint on every possession that I'm watching, going back and watching these games. Defensively, it seems like they're a better team. It's no shot at Jalen Duren. It's just something that he hasn't really quite developed yet. I mean, you see the flashes of him protecting the rim, but it's not solely there yet. Really liked what I saw out of Stu. Love that Cade got, Stu going, offensively, because I think that's something that you kind of look at his stats throughout the year so far. He hasn't scored a whole lot, and he's not shooting the amount of threes that he was last year, which I still think that's just kind of the way JB wants to use him. It's just kind of like a bully ball, just like, energy big down low in the post. But really like what I saw out of Isaiah Stewart in the game. And with Paul Reed, I think the reason why we signed Paul Reed is just because of an injury like this. And he came in, gave you good minutes, had a 3-pointer in the corner, had some like little floaters, brought energy, defense. And I think that's only thing you could like really ask for him as a backup big on this team.
Yeah, one thing that stuck out to me when watching and I guess particularly when the Hawks were going on runs and all that. I mean, I feel like maybe not immediately, but eventually this team needs a 7-footer, whether it's the starter, backup, a third big as kind of an off-speed pitch. I mean, Jalen Duren is up there, but at the same time, his defensive concerns. I feel like if we're playing Stewart and Paul Reed night in and night out, like Stewart does a great job at protecting the rim for his size, but I just think sometimes the matchup and things like that will cause it to be an issue. So I don't know if it's a trade you make this season, something that you prioritize in the off season. I wish that was a move they could make in the off season, like a free agent. Wes, we talked about Goga Batadze a lot, but when he re-signed in Orlando, I thought Paul Reed was probably the best backup big option that they could have brought in. So I understand the move. I just think eventually, like last night, they had 8 blocks as a team, and just just 2 of them were from Stewart and Reed. They had 1 apiece, and the other 6 were from Tobias and Jaden Ivey. So I just think long term, you need to add some length. I don't know who that is, and I don't think it's an immediate thing that you need to fix, but eventually I'd love to see them do that.
So speaking of that length and vertical pop thing, one thing that I was really curious to watch for when that game started was seeing how both Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey would kind of adjust, right, to not having that traditional lob threat big. That was something that we saw Cade in particular struggle with his rookie year, right? Not having that outlet that he could kind of just toss the ball up towards the rim and get a pretty easy assist with. So, Anthony, what did you see with that? Like, did you notice any ways that maybe Cade or Jaden were able to adjust for that, or maybe just ways that they couldn't, right? Where it was a little bit more of a limitation offensively.
I thought the game with those two, they each had moments where they shined, but they also had like key turnovers where you're kind of scratching your head and like, why did you make that pass? Like you're trying to force a play, but it does help with Tobias Harris is hitting corner threes. I think that is so understated. I tweeted out that I thought the corner threes were his kryptonite, and then someone told me he shot over 40% from corner threes last year. So I felt like an idiot. But it does help when you have guys in the corner or even on like, the weak side, like, hit open jump shots. But I think overall, you're starting to see Jaden Ivey get more confident. I thought that was the best defensive game I've seen out of Jaden Ivey in a Detroit Pistons uniform last night, personally.
Yeah, the effort is really like I feel like he's really active and everything, and it on both ends too, just like the way he attacks the hoop and everything. So yeah, I think I'm impressed with Ivy overall. First and foremost, he was 1 for 4 from three last night, so he didn't have a ton of opportunity, and the ones he had, he didn't connect at a super high rate. But overall, especially like getting to the free throw line, like that and one he had in the fourth quarter was huge when the Hawks were ramping it up over defense. And yeah, just as a collective, the thing I like about this roster is I feel like Cade and Ivy and I mean, just the rest of these young guys that you're trying to develop, they have more outlets that can almost bail them out. It doesn't look pretty when a Tobias Harris isn't hitting shots, but we've seen like one night Malik Beasley's on, the next it's Tim Hardaway, last night it was Tobias. So it seemed not always, especially in that Knicks game, but it seems like there's more opportunities for them to just kick out and have someone that you have confidence can knock down a three as opposed to previously in their careers.
And that's something you kind of talked about, Blake, before the season started, right? Like that positive reinforcement to making the right play might be really, really important for a guy like Jaden Ivey, who's still really growing as a playmaker. And I just wanted to bring up one of my favorite plays that Jaden Ivey made that entire game was kind of in the middle of the third quarter. He's operating as the point guard. Malik Beasley runs up the floor. He kind of charges headfirst into I think it was a 2-on-3, 2-on-4, something like that. And Jaden Ivey ran behind him, called for the ball, got the ball out on the wing, pointed and told Paul Reed where to go. Like he set Paul Reed in the right spot. He moved Malik Beasley over to the corner before he even took a dribble. He's just holding the ball up on the wing. Called Paul Reed over to get a screen, and then as he was going over the screen, just swung an early pass to Fontecchio, who was wide open on the wing. And of course, Fontecchio makes it, right? But that is the most point guard I've ever seen out of Jaden Ivey. I think at any point in his career, even back to stuff I remember watching when he was at Purdue. I mean, he told two separate guys where to be, made sure that the timing was right on that screen, and then just made an unselfish, early, easy pass for a nice, easy three that goes in. And so naturally now this is all getting reinforced. I know Ivy had 4 turnovers, so it really wasn't his best playmaking, setup man type of game, but he's been very impressive, I thought, in some of his flashes as a lead ball handler off the bench. I'm getting very excited. What about you?
I think you started to see it in I believe it was the Philly game. It was like the first play of the game where Cade was kind of in the corner sitting for three, and Jaden Ivey was initiating the offense. So maybe that's something that JB Bickerstaff wants to experiment with more with, just because of how turnover prone this team is. And to your point, Wes, yeah, you're starting to see like Jaden Ivey develop into like a lead ball handler. I know exactly what play you were talking about. I was like, what is he doing? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go. Like, I love that play. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, the nice thing is I think Ivy isn't like I wouldn't label him as a true point guard, but he definitely has the ability to be that like primary on ball guy when you need him to be. And Cade can also play off the ball himself. So it's a nice like way to mix things up if you want to give that to Ivy to initiate and have Cade start on the corner and make some sort of like play, whatever it might be. But also when Cade's off the floor, like Ivy has the ability to run things, which I just like the different things that they're able to do with that combination. And I also like the fact that both of them, like, they don't need the ball to make a play or whatever it might be, but when it's their time to go, they can do it too. So there's a bunch of different ways to like confuse defenses and keep them on their toes, which I it makes it fun to watch, honestly.
So one final takeaway from this game, and then I think we'll get on into some questions. But we mentioned the vets now a couple of times. Malik Beasley had a nice night. So did Tobias Harris. Tim Hardaway Jr. was a little bit more rough. I think he had 3 turnovers. You can't really afford to have that from him, a guy like him. But what, Anthony, have you thought of these veterans so far this season? The role they've been able to provide, even maybe compared to what guys like Burks and Bogdanovich did last year.
The way I look at it, like when I think of veterans, is you can be a veteran and contribute, but I feel like these are impactful veterans that are helping teaching moments and winning games. I think Tobias Harris, and all a lot of people in the community, like when we heard the rumors like last February that we're going after Tobias Harris, it was just like a big sigh, like really, that's what we're gonna do. But I think he's a perfect vet for these guys to just learn from. Like he was the first person to congratulate Cade after that block.
Mhm.
Malik Beasley, came off the bench. Like everyone came off the bench. I think each of these veterans provide something different. Like I went to opening night. Malik Beasley is talking like if he's on the bench, he's talking to Cade on the bench. He's coaching them up. He's really involved in the community. I think he actually like wants to be here. Like it wouldn't surprise me if we re-signed him. And I know some people like want to trade him because he's like on a 1-year deal, salary dump type thing. But I think all of these bets, like even Tim Hardaway Jr. shooting the lights out. I think I saw like 48% from 3, like top 5 in the NBA right now. Like that was not on my bingo book. I didn't think Tim Hardaway Jr. was just kind of like just shoot the ball the way he's shooting it. So many Mavs fans told me he was washed, but he doesn't look washed. I think all of these veterans are helping win games in different ways, and how they differ from Alec Burks and Bojan is they're actually teaching, and it seems like they actually want to be here and they care about this young core.
I'm with you on Tim Hardaway Jr. I mean, for one, I didn't expect him to start. I definitely didn't expect him to shoot the ball like he has so far. When Trajan made that trade, it seemed like a salary dump, which it still kind of is, but it's not like it's a Joe Harris that you just took on and he doesn't give you anything. Like Tim Hardaway is providing some really impactful minutes. He can make shots in key moments. And what I really loved about Malik Beasley in the Atlanta game, he scored 22 points, but this game got like almost uncharacteristically chippy in the fourth quarter. And it was all due to Malik Beasley and Trey Young and Larry Nance Jr. for that matter. But Malik Beasley was like going at Trey Young, and they were chirping after Trey Young fouled him and Malik Beasley was at the line, and then Malik Beasley picked up Trey full court and got a deflection, was like clapping in his face. Like he brings a level of intensity which Malik Beasley isn't known as a defender by any means, but I just like how no matter who he's going up against, he just like brings something to these games, whether it's for his team and like talking to them and coaching them up, but also just like going at anyone against the league, which he has that personality, but I guess I just didn't really expect that type of intensity from him.
Yeah, me either. So completely agree with you guys. Let's do this question actually first because it's kind of related to that Hawks game. But I am the Big Cheese says that he would love to see Isaiah Stewart shoot more threes, and sure enough, Isaiah Stewart shot 0 threes against the Hawks. I think he shot one
Yeah.
wide open catch and shoot look without hesitation, which was nice to see because I think he's been pretty passive so far this season. That was against the Hornets, but Man, you know, the floor spacing out of Isaiah Stewart is not necessarily, I think, what any of us would have predicted before the season started. And I know that JB Bickerstaff, he made a comment, I believe it was to Omari, maybe last week, mentioning that in the pick and pop, Isaiah Stewart just wasn't getting the gravity that they really wanted to see out of him when he did pop. So that's why he's rolling more frequently. But you know, that does not fully explain the lack of just catch and shoot happen to be in the corner looks. So, you know, Anthony, what's going on there? Does Isaiah Stewart just need to shoot more? Is there something else happening? Like what's the deal?
So I saw that comment on Twitter. I think it was a fan asking Amari about it. And the first thing I did is I went to media day and I re-listened to Isaiah Stewart's media day. And then I was just like, maybe Isaiah Stewart doesn't want to spread the floor. Maybe he just wants to play bully ball because it's like JB understands me. And it got me thinking, it was just like they kind of forced him to be the stretch forward. They forced him to play power forward. Maybe he doesn't want to, be a stretch five and, spread the perimeter like a lot of us, saw last year. Maybe he just kind of wants to play maybe like just a bully ball energy big, like a Nas Reed, if you want. I'm not comparing the two, but just kind of like that type of energy big off the bench.
Yeah, the media day comments you bring up are interesting because I remember he said how he likes to be down low in the paint and just fight for everything down there, which I think he's great at. Like, what's interesting though is we've seen him be able to knock down threes. So, like, I almost think it is a bit more schematic as opposed to just Isaiah Stewart's want to shoot threes. Like he's only taken 4 threes the entire year so far, and he hasn't knocked down one. So that's not a high volume at all. So, like, I like the fact that if Jalen Duren does miss however much time, I like the fact that Stewart can bring that into the starting lineup. It's just like I'm not sure if he will, but at the same time, I'm not really sure he needs to with the group that he's playing around, like especially if Jaden Ivey continues to shoot the ball the way that he does. I would love to see the Pistons play a 5-out offense, but it almost seems like JB doesn't really want to do it. And I guess I can get it because it's worked so far. Like Stu not shooting threes hasn't really hindered the team by any means, even though I'd like to see him put up more.
I'm gonna disagree with you just a little bit there. I do kind of lean to thinking that this is maybe just him being too passive. You know, whether that's him wanting to bang down low more than he wants to be on the 3-point line. I don't know. Like who's to say, I guess. But you know, he's been playing 18 to 22 minutes a night generally. And then against the Hawks, he starts, right? So he got, what did he get? Almost 33 minutes
Yeah.
total. Look, you can accidentally your way into 2 or 3 3-point attempts as a big in this league when you're playing that many minutes. You could look at just, I know he's a big time hustle guy. I love that about him. I love that 8 or 9 times out of 10 he tries to sprint ahead of the ball in transition on offense and get some low post seals. Right, I love that he does that. But he doesn't do it literally every single time because nobody can, right? Nobody can do that literally every single time down. So there are times where he's trailing. You know, if he catches the ball up at the top of the key as a trail man, like if he's wide open, I'd like him to take the 3, right? He's out there, he's initiating DHOs. So if he gets the ball for a DHO, he's standing on that 3-point line. If no one's guarding him and he turns around, like, yeah, I'd like him to put the shot up, right? So I think this is mostly on him. He's had opportunities. He's been open in the corner. He's been open on the wing, top of the key every now and then. He could be getting 2 or 3 attempts a night, and he's just not taking them yet. I wish that he would, right? I think that it would be valuable, and you wouldn't have to change anything schematically, at least from my point of view. But I'll let you guys obviously both respond to that, and then we'll hop on to another question here.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's like a personal preference thing, if that's the case, like what you mentioned, Wes, about him just wanting to battle in the post and the paint a little bit more. It's just interesting to me the fact that he was a willing shooter from 3 that we've seen recently, and now like maybe he's not. That's just is weird to me. Like, I wonder if something happened where he's less confidence, has less confidence in his shot, or if he just wants to be down low more. I don't think it's an answer that anyone has, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest question mark so far within the season. It's because he was shooting so many and like on pretty good volume, and now he's not. But I don't know. Maybe it's a JB thing. Maybe it's a Stu thing. I guess we won't know.
Hey, even Paul Reed took one last night, and he made it too.
We Can we talk about his form? Because that's something wild. I'm sorry. It just is so ugly. I know it went in. He made the three. He made a nice little, was that a free throw line jumper at one point too? I think he missed a floater later on, but like, man, that is a weird jump shot. If you just took a video of that and showed it to me, I'd guess that misses 100 times out of 100.
Man. Hey, if you guys haven't, I saw a clip on Twitter. I think it was a Suns beat writer of their Oso Ighodaro, their like rookie center, who he's kind of like a point forward. He's a really interesting player, but it was a shoot around him putting up threes. And Wes, you need to go find this clip because his form was just wow, like incredibly ugly. And Paul
Anthony
Reed,
brought up MKG. Is it that bad?
oh, it was like I saw a lot of comments that were like,
Oh my, I need to find this. This
how
is
does a
awesome.
player like this make it to the NBA? Which I really like Iguodaro as a prospect, but it when I watched it, I was like, wow. But I love that Paul Reed will like take shots sometimes. I mean, he was the G League MVP back in his rookie year, and he shot like 40% from three. I mean, obviously, totally different competition level, but I love how sometimes he'll just get the ball and be like, okay, it's Paul Reed time, and I'm gonna go for something.
I mean, it seems like almost every time Paul Reed touches the ball, it might be Paul Reed time.
Exactly.
I've honestly liked what I've seen from him in so far early on in the season. So like, I'm not complaining about it at all. But Paul Reed likes to score, and I think we can say that pretty definitively. Anthony, what do you think about Paul Reed? He got some good minutes last night, obviously with Jalen Duren being out, and we talked a little bit about just his size and whatnot. But how about just the game that he had? He was 2 for 6, scored 5 points, had 2 turnovers, 1 steal, one rebound, which is shocking to me. But I thought he did play some pretty solid defense. What's your early season review of B-ball Paul?
I thought the past 2 games he's been pretty solid for like the backup position. I know some people had mentioned when I did a post game podcast last night that he'll need like how does he have 1 rebound? He's playing backup big minutes. Like I don't know, I don't get it. The shot is very unorthodox. I will give you that, but I'm probably the last person to talk because my shot is probably even uglier than B-ball Paul's. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie up here. My shot's pretty ugly. But I like what we're seeing out of him so far. I thought, stepping up while Jalen Duren was out, playing, backup big minutes, bringing energy, bringing defense. I think that's all you can really ask for him right now.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nice what you're seeing. I mean, there have been times where he's looked rough. I think it was the first half against the Hornets where it was pretty rough, but then he had a good second half. I mean, I like the fact how he's pretty clearly out of the rotation, but when it's his time, he comes in and provides some value, and it's something that the team needs. I mean, he's definitely has a role for himself on nights like this when you're missing a Jalen Duren or one of Duren or Stu is in foul trouble. So I like because I feel like he probably wanted to be more in a rotation, and the fact that he comes to a team that was the worst team in the league last year and he's out of their rotation, just the ability to come in and try to make an impact in the minutes you're given is a positive, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the offense because I agree the offense. This is from Rames in the DBB comments, but he points out the offense has kind of been underperforming. Looking at this roster, you would not guess that the defense is performing better than the offense is, but it currently is. So that's a bit of a shock. But he asks, besides the veterans just simply hitting more of the shots that they're taking, how could the offense get better? Anthony, what do you think?
I think this answer is kind of a cop out, but take care of the basketball. Like, don't turn the basketball over. Don't force turnovers. Don't force a possession. Because this is not me. Like, it's nitpicking Cade, but sometimes when I'm watching him, he gets so fixated on an individual player where he gets tunnel vision. Like, there was a play I think last week to Duren where he was taking no for an answer. He just kept passing it, passing it, passing it. It was a turnover. And I think sometimes, and he'll probably learn it as he watches, more film, is like try to get the ball out of his hands before he gets double or triple teamed. I thought he did a really good job of that last night. But I mean, just taking better care of the basketball, you'll get more opportunities and to pile up the lead that you had. Because I mean, they were up 40-23 on the Hawks, and they gave the Hawks an opportunity to get back into the game to cut a 24-point lead to a 13-point lead. So I think at the end of the day, they have to take better care of the basketball.
I was gonna say turnovers too, because that's the most glaring. But just to add something else, like I think, like I like how the offense is flowing between like the Cade and Ivy backcourt, and then you also have Tobias, THJ, Malik Beasley when he's in to make things happen, to put up shots. But I've felt a little weird about just the center spot in general and how they fit into the offense. There have been tons of games already where Jalen Duren doesn't have many shot attempts, and same for Isaiah Stewart. I mean, Isaiah Stewart had 8 shots last night. Like some of those were tip ins at the basket, which is great. But I wonder if there's a way just to like bully yourself into the paint a little more to get more looks for those big guys right at the hoop. It, it can take away threes sometimes, but at least you know that you have those outlets beyond the line when you need to. So maybe like switching things up and going to the bigs a little bit more. But I'd say if, yeah, like Rames mentioned here, if the veterans are simply knocking down shots, like I don't even know if you really need to do that.
Yeah, for sure. My first thought, kind of like you, I went to, I guess the flow or the motion, right? I don't know. I just keep going back to what we saw those first couple of preseason games, where it very much was kind of an equal opportunity, motion style offense that was really fun to watch, actually at the time, and they just haven't really done that all that much this year in the regular season. There have been spurts of it, right? There have been spurts, but it's just not been consistent. So, I wonder if maybe that could be something where, yeah, just get the ball moving a little bit more. Then maybe we could get a little more of that flow, right? The offense could improve. The other thing that I was thinking of was, let's see if I could find it again. So the Pistons are last in the NBA in steals generated, and it's not close. They're one entire team steal worse than the Milwaukee Bucks are, and we know that the Milwaukee Bucks are just having a banner season at their 2-7 right now. They're obviously very pleased with how their team's performing.
Cooper
So
Flag.
I wonder if just Cooper Flag, right? They're going for it. Pair him with Giannis. Oh no. Anyway, I just wonder if maybe force a few more turnovers, get out and transition a little bit more. I know that they're playing a slower pace too, and this might be part of it. They are playing against quite a few set defenses. Maybe there's something there. Just get out and run a little bit more frequently if you can generate the turnovers. That is.
Hey, that'll help when Asar Thompson is back too, because I mean the defender he is and great in transition offense. So yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, generating more of those easy looks in transition. I mean, I think I think when Ivy gets out, he's been really good at getting to the basket and generating a foul or finishing through contact. But yeah, I think when Asar gets back, he'll definitely help with that. And also, I mean, who knows what Ron Holland's role looks like when Asar is back too, but as he develops a little bit more, like he's like a freak athlete, not at the level Asar is, but he's a really good player in transition too. So hopefully over time that can get a little bit better.
So Chuck Brewer brings up a good question. Anthony, want to ask this one to you. Brings up the steals being low, right? Says, is that sort of by design? The overall defense is much better. And I agree with that. The overall defense has obviously been much better this year. So, is there anything to that, do you think, Anthony? Like, are they just maybe not gambling as much and that's part of why the defense has improved, or maybe not?
I've noticed the communication is a hell of a lot louder. Um, I went to I can't remember which game I went to, but you could honestly hear Cade like yell at Jalen Duren. Like he's like, yo, get your head in the game. Malik Beasley's like yelling at them on the bench. Like you get all the assistant coaches are like yelling at them to communicate. To answer Chuck's question, yeah, the steals are probably kind of like a red flag in terms of like not generating turnovers. Not like Dyson Daniels did last night. Good Lord, 7 steals. But to Blake's point, yeah, like when you have a defender like Star Thompson, he's going to generate a lot of pressure. He's going to generate a lot of steals. But yeah, the defense is much better overall. I think outside of the Knicks game, they've been in every game so far this season. But yeah, that is kind of like a red flag. Now that you mentioned, I didn't know that they were that low in terms of just like forcing turnovers and getting steals.
Yeah, I need to get out to a game because I feel like that stuff you notice. I mean, obviously, so much better when you're in person, but even just watching on TV, whether it's going into a timeout and seeing the bench, I mean, it definitely seems a bit, it, probably a lot better than it was at least last season too. So yeah, overall, I mean, hopefully we get an update on Asar soon. Who knows what's going on with that, but I just have to operate without him. And I think maybe like the one positive that you can take from the low steal number is I feel like Cade or Ivy haven't really played themselves out of games in terms of foul trouble. I think there was one game where Cade was in some foul trouble, but that has been a problem with Stewart and Duren at times. And Stewart picked up a couple early fouls against the Hawks, but JB let him play through it. So maybe you just know like Cade and Ivy are your guys. You can't have them in situations where they can't be out on the floor. So they're not taking as many gambles. And also, like, your best perimeter defender by far is just not available right now, too.
I think the only thing I'd add, Anthony, I think I'm probably closer to you. I look at it a little bit more of a red flag, I guess, even though there are all these other factors that are going really well for the defense. So I don't really want to mitigate that. But, it's not like they're not pressuring passing lanes. They get beat backdoor nightly. Their guards and their wings, like Tim Hardaway Jr. is getting beat backdoor, feels like at least once a night, which is just really odd for a 30-plus-year-old veteran who's been around the block more than once. Like, I know he's not a good defender, but you expect your vets to not just fall asleep off ball and get back cut down the baseline. So it's not like they aren't stepping up into one pass away situations to try and deny passing lanes. They are. They're just not generating the steals out of it, and they are still getting burned on that risk pretty frequently. Especially, I mean, we keep going back to that Knicks game because that was just the worst. But man, Jalen Brunson just lived off of the back cut on that whole game. He was back cutting DHOs. So my only point, I think you're right to bring it up as a red flag, just that it is so low because they're trying, they're giving it a try. It's just not been working. You guys, any other comments there?
No, I think that's pretty much it for me. I mean, those are sort of just defeating plays. So got to find a way to take those away. And I mean, I think it's helped that Cade and Ivy have looked better as defenders with the ball pressure and everything. But yeah, those are just backbreakers when they do happen. So have to find a way to take it away.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's do this one here. This is kind of a fun one. This is from Blue Post in the DBB comments, but kind of a throwback for us, Blake, and obviously Anthony. We'll get you in on this one too. He says, "Can you revisit the concern with Ivy's fit with Cade? What might have changed? What maybe hasn't changed?" And he was asking this question. He actually linked to the podcast episode we did. But you had mentioned that before the season, hey, maybe Ron Holland actually will be a better fit with Cade Cunningham than Jaden Ivey for reasons XYZ. I think the three general ones were, Ivy shooting, the need for him to have the ball in his hands, and then defense, right? You think you had a couple others in there that you could speak to, but we'll let you go first, then throw it over to Anthony. But just from a high level, what have you seen with Jaden Ivey's fit with Cade Cunningham this year, and what concerns maybe have, I guess, gone away? What might still be there?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me, if you're comparing Cade and Ivy, and when we talked about it before the season, was just the defense. I mean, I didn't want Cade to have to take on the primary assignment for the other team, and I wasn't sure if Ivy would be able to do that. Both Cade and Ivy have looked a lot better defensively this year, which alleviates that concern. I just think Ron Holland has more defensive upside than either of them. And he also, just because of we've only seen 10 games of him in the NBA and he still has a lot of development to do. I mean, I think his upside as a scorer could be pretty high. Wes, I know you were just on the bandwagon that Ivy was going to break out this season and average 20 points a game, which looks great so far. And he's been able to do that. So I think if Ivy is able to continue what he's doing, especially shooting the ball, I don't think you have any concerns offensively as well as on the defensive side. I mean, do you want a better defender at least next to him? And if eventually Ron Holland plays next to both of them, maybe he is the guy that's taking the top defensive assignment. So you can give Cade and Ivy a little bit of a break and they're still going to compete on that end of the floor too. And Holland shot, I mean, it looked good against Charlotte. He only put up 1 3 against Atlanta, which didn't drop. But yeah, overall I think you have to, like, the Cade and Ivy fit was a question just if Jaden Ivey would have popped more if he had the ball in his hands almost exclusively, and he's been able to find ways to score when he has had the ball in his hands, and also when others are initiating for him. So I think you need to take that as a sign of optimism that this can work as your backcourt of the future, and then you also have this rookie who you don't know what he's going to turn into. You don't know what his shot is going to be, but he can at least hopefully help take some pressure off on the defensive end if he is playing alongside Caden Ivey, and then he also can potentially be pretty good at scoring as well. So I think any concern of Cade or Ivy being able to play together is definitely minimized a ton through these first 10 games. It's just about like what does Ron Holland eventually turn into? And the good thing about that is we have some time.
Yeah, Anthony. So what do you think? What do you think about the pairing? I guess so far from just a high level, not getting into too many specifics.
It's funny. I kind of had the same take in the summer that I thought Ron Holland, like, if Jaden Ivey didn't have the season that he's having, like, maybe he could be the shooting guard of the future, just kind of given like the way he plays defensively and all that stuff. But I think the biggest reason of why I don't have concerns anymore is because he's hitting his open 3-point shot. That's always, I think, been the argument with those two is if Jaden Ivey isn't hitting 3-point shots at a good clip, then the pairing is probably just not going to work. And one thing that I've seen this year that I didn't see in his first 2 seasons is the way he's playing without the ball, the way he's coming off screens, the way he's making himself available. And I think that's been the biggest thing that I've seen watching these games right now is he's making himself available. Like there was a play last night. I can't remember who shot it. It might've been Stewart or Tobias, and he's at the 3-point line. He goes up and he tips in the rebound. Like he wasn't doing stuff like that last year. He's making himself available. He's not just standing in the corner or just sitting there. He's trying to get involved at every possession that he can.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's dive into some of those. There's some fun stats that I was able to pull up for all this, but just the overall stat line, like I assume most of us already know, but 19.6 points, 4.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists. Since you guys both brought up the shooting, let's talk a little bit about that shooting. He's shooting 48% from the floor, 40% from three, and 72% from the free throw line. Anthony, you know what's kind of driving that? I mean, obviously he's improved quite a bit as a shooter. I think we can all agree that his form looks a lot smoother, especially off the catch. But you know, have maybe the types of shots he's taking changed? Have you seen anything maybe in the types of shots around the rim too, the opportunities he's taking there that might be driving this beyond just, hey, he got more reps?
I think it's a couple things. I think one, Cade just demands so much attention defensively that it seems like every time Jaden Ivey is shooting a 3-point shot, he has a lot of space. And I think that has to do with, just Cade Cunningham and the point guard that he is. And also kind of looking back from last year to this year, his shot seems a little bit quicker. Seems like he spent a lot of time on that shot. Seems like he spent a lot of time in the weight room as well. He's able to absorb contact when, driving into the lane, and some of the plays that he makes is like changing like mid form in the air is like highlight level stuff. I think it's just his development and just his work ethic. Like, I remember when I went to opening night, he was out there like 2.5 hours before anyone else, just working on like pregame stuff with Fred Vincent and Kevin Burlington out there. So I'm not surprised that he's taken this jump. He's probably one of the hardest working players on this team.
Yeah, you mentioned it, but one thing that's really stood out to me is I feel like his like tool set and like bag at the rim just seems a lot more developed, and he can do things that I feel like not many players can do and finish through some really tough contact or angles. I mean, is that going to work out every time? No, but I think he can at least go up, find a way to put a decent shot up and get fouled a bunch of times. And Chuck Brewer brings it up in the chat, like his coach believes in him. We can't minimize that. I totally agree. I mean, I think Ivy is just playing with a different level of confidence, certainly compared to a year ago. And sometimes that's all you need. And we've seen it pay off for Jaden Ivey so far.
The only thing I'd say to that is just I would push back a little bit on the coaching thing, and I will be the first person to say that Monty Williams has used Jaden Ivey in extremely wrong ways. I was not a fan of how that worked out at all, and I've been very impressed with schematically what JB has done here with Jaden Ivey. But then, at the same time, it's not like Jaden Ivey was doing this when he had the opportunities to do so last year. He did get pick and roll reps last year. He did get reps in isolation off DHOs, and he just was not converting at the rates that we're seeing so far this season. Like, I don't want to take away any of Jaden Ivey's improvements that he's made as a player and kind of pin that on, JB Bickerstaff made him good, right? I think that's wrong for what Jaden has done for this season, because for at least how I'm seeing it, I think at least 90% of this is just him driven. But let's keep diving in, because I've got some more fun stats here. Some of these are pretty cool, pretty crazy, but I want to leave the defense for last because that's probably the most fun. Let's look at the needing the ball thing, right? That whole narrative about it. So here are the stats. Jaden Ivey's getting 1.8 designed isolations per game. Cade Cunningham 3.8. Jaden Ivey's getting 4.7 pick and roll attempts per game. Cade Cunningham 10.4. Jaden Ivey's getting 1.7 designed DHO handoffs per game. Cade Cunningham 2.4. Just in terms of raw totals, Jaden Ivey has 625 touches. Cade Cunningham, 926. No one else on this roster is over 500. And then Jaden Ivey is averaging almost 11 drives to the rim per game. Cade Cunningham, almost 17. So I just threw a bunch of numbers at you there, Anthony. I think all of them are pretty exciting. But, what's your takeaway from that? The needing the ball thing. It looks like they've adjusted really well.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that a lot of people in the Detroit Pistons community would argue that these two can't play together because Jaden Ivey needs the ball in his hands, and he just fired off a bunch of stats that doesn't equate to like what you were saying. I think just making himself more available, getting to the basket, making his 3-point shots, like we talked a little bit earlier. I think everything that he's doing. He's kind of adjusted the way he's playing, his pace. I did not envision him having such a slow-paced game when he needs to have a slow-paced game like that and one that he had last night in the fourth quarter. Like if that was last year, that probably would have been an out of control, just wild layup. I think he's starting to figure out when to use his speed and when to be more methodical with it. And I think all those numbers that you just fired off kind of backs that up.
Yeah, I think it speaks to just like what JB said in his intro press conference about how they're trying to get Ivy the ball more in motion as well. Like Ivy's still going to have those opportunities to run ISOs, pick and rolls, everything like that, but Cade Cunningham is the guy, and you have to figure out how to get Jaden Ivey the ball in the right situations for that pairing to work. And I think we've seen it in a small sample size so far. I'll be interested to see what those numbers look like at the end of the year, for example. I mean, I expect them to be pretty similar, honestly, but overall, I think it's a good thing that Ivy is finding ways to get going himself while also like just not needing the ball himself to get going 100% of the time, but he can also do those things when he does have the opportunity.
Yeah, it's a fun balance, right? It's not
Yeah.
like either of these guys are dominating the ball the entire game, but between them, they are as a collective dominating the ball the entire game, which I guess is exactly how you'd want to see it. And just real quick, Anthony, I love the way you put that because that's something that I forget pretty often. In order to play fast, you got to know how to play slow, right? You got to have the variability in order for that burst that you have, that first step that Jaden Ivey or even a guy like Ron Holland, Asar Thompson, that these guys have, those physical gifts. You got to be able to play with some pace to really make it powerful, really make it a weapon to have. Last thing, the defense, which, Blake, I agree with you. This has probably been the most fun thing so far this season, the defense with Ivy, but also a little bit with Cade Cunningham too. But you mentioned that you don't want Cade being the primary guy guarding the other team's best ball handler, their best guard, right? Well, he's not been. Cade Cunningham's usually out guarding someone out on the wing. Jaden Ivey is almost exclusively playing as an on-ball defender. His stocks per 100 possessions have increased by 0.2, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually pretty good. When it goes from 2.1 to 2.3, that is a noticeable change. That's impactful. But probably the most exciting thing is that he's actually third on the team in deflections this season. He's got 16. Cade Cunningham, by the way, speaking of other guys that have taken steps defensively, he's first with 22. So your backcourt between them is getting 38 deflections per game. That's pretty great. Anthony, what stood out to you defensively for Jaden Ivey, and then a little bit with Cade Cunningham too?
I think this is the first time that he did it a little bit last year, but you didn't really see Jaden Ivey fight over the top of screens. And I think he's done that a lot this year. He's always has his hands out. He's always looking to play the passing lanes when the offense gives him a chance to play the passing lanes. He's up on guys. He's picking up guys a good 70, 80 feet most nights. It's something that is a development and I'm paying attention to, because I think that was the one knock on him coming out of college, that he wasn't known as this lockdown defender, but he's starting to develop. He's giving more effort defensively.
He wasn't even really viewed as a neutral defender at the time.
Yeah.
It was something he'd really have to work on, and we've kind of seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that he's developed, and at the end of the day, defense is an effort thing, and that just tells me that he's giving effort out there. With Cade Cunningham, I'm not really too surprised because I think he has all the makings to be a two-way star in this league. He's got the frame, he's got the body, he's got the smarts. I mean, like the defense that he was playing on LeBron James, I thought was phenomenal this week. I'm not really surprised that these guys are getting 30 plus deflections a game, because if you kind of watch the game and you watch it back, watch it through a different lens, you're seeing that the backcourt is trying to defend each and every possession out there.
Wait, Ivy had 3 blocks against Atlanta, and you're obviously not going to see that every night. But I remember after one of them, he was like really fired up and talking like, "Get that out of here!" Like doing that whole thing, which
Some choice words that the broadcast caught as they went to commercial.
exactly, which like you've seen it at times, but I feel like you haven't seen it as much as you have this year. Which I mean, when I have watched Jaden Ivey his whole career, like he hasn't really been that type of guy. So if he's doing more and more of that stuff, and it's just the effort, like you bring up, Anthony is like there on every play. I mean, I think it's a huge development. And yeah, Wes, like going up 0.2 stocks a game isn't anything crazy, but it just shows that a little bit more, like Ivy is making more and more defensive plays, which is huge if he's going to be that primary on ball guy. Like again, maybe that changes when Asar Thompson is back in the mix, depending on if he's in the starting lineup or not. But like Ivy's quickness helps as well. Like we know he's able to beat pretty much anyone in this league with his first step, but that helps on defense as well, being able to stay in front of people, and then couple the effort and activity we're seeing as well, and it just gives you signs that he can keep improving. And if it is his job to take on that primary option every night moving forward, he's shown us that he is able to do so.
All right, Anthony, we're coming up here on time, so we like to ask guests when we have them on one thing right at the end, because this entire podcast is us and actually all of our listeners just throwing questions at you, right? So, do you have any questions that you wanted to ask us or you wanted to have discussed on the podcast today that you might be interesting before we let you go on with your Saturday afternoon?
I have a question, and I've probably thrown it at the wall all summer. What did they do with that last roster spot?
That is a great question. Like, I mean, obviously we don't know, but I'm like okay, where my head is leaning is like you're just going to keep it open in case you make a trade and you're bringing back more players and money than you're sending out, which they're able to do with cap space. But I guess also it gives you the flexibility on if like Asar Thompson's been out again, like if Jalen Duren misses time, and then if there's another injury, like it gives you some flexibility to bring someone else in, or even if there's a two-way guy like across the league, like Jay Huff, who Memphis just signed to a full roster spot, but he was a two-way before. Like I thought that would be an interesting player for the Pistons to try and bring in. So if there's someone like that, maybe I could see if a trade doesn't work out, like giving a guarantee or a non-guaranteed roster spot to someone that's like a fringe NBA player, a two-way guy looking for a roster spot. But right now, where I think it is it like Trajan just wants to be flexible in case of a potential trade, so you can bring back more guys than you send out without having to waive like what 3 or 4 players like Troy had to do at the deadline last year. Who
Right.
knows? That didn't he have like an exhibit 10? I don't think he made a team. I wonder where he is.
Yeah, I don't think he's on a
Is
roster. I
he?
think he's in the G League. Yeah.
Hey, I saw. Oh my God, we almost went a whole podcast without mentioning his name. But I saw Killian
Don't do
Hayes
it.
did
No.
pretty. He had a. I saw he like had a good game in the G League last night. So
Good for Killian. Good for him.
Not saying anything about the roster spot, but I was like, hey,
Chuck
nice.
Brewer says a vet PG. Man, Killian Hayes. There you go. Maybe.
Is he already considered
No.
a vet?
I mean, he'd have to be, right? He's beyond that first contract narrowly. Oh man. No, I would have said the exact same thing. But I think plan A with that last roster spot, right, is just to have the flexibility for a trade. I was very wrong. I thought it was going to be Lamar Stevens because he was getting first half minutes there at the end of the preseason. I was wrong about that. So they're keeping it open.
I think
and then,
he's
like
on
you
the
said,
Cruise roster. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you could always
Yep.
bring him in too if you wanted to.
Right. Well, it's the injuries thing now, right? You know, if you have plan A is to go ahead and get the trade, right? Maybe not even send anything out other than cash and just bring in a player that a team needs to get salary off the books for, or, you know, like a 2-for-1 sort of deal. But, you know, what could ruin that is what if Paul Reed goes down with a twisted ankle tomorrow, right? You know, if you got, you can sign a 10-day, then you could sign someone else to a 10-day, but for the most part, I think that might be what ruins it, right? If you get injury, double dip on an injury on a position, then you're kind of just screwed and you have to sign a guy to the full roster. But yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I'm in the same mindset as you. Plan A is that trade. It just feels like, otherwise, why else would we be here right now with 14?
Yeah. Like a team I'm looking at over the next month, like December 15th is the Washington Wizards. Like I'm just expecting them to make a bunch of trades. Like, what do they want from Malcolm Brogdon? Like that's a veteran point guard that I wouldn't like be opposed to.
And they signed Valanciunas too, right? Like on a fairly short-term deal. Like if you want to go and get a center, like maybe he's one you can get too. So yeah, that's an interesting one because they have young guys at like every position that I'm sure you're trying to clear the way for.
Yeah, they're winning too much.
I have a quick question, Anthony. I wanted your take on what do you make of the start to the season for Simone Fontecchio?
I thought last game was his best game so far. I don't know if maybe his leg is still like hurting him from the surgery that he had in the offseason, but it seemed like the first couple of games of the season, he just wasn't getting the ball like in his shooting pocket. Seemed like anytime they did pass him the ball, they were expecting him to put the ball on the floor and just like really uncomfortable. You know, I shouldn't say it's uncomfortable for him because he's an NBA basketball player, but like that's not like really where you want him to get the ball. You want him, you know, shooting threes. You don't want him to try to put the ball on the floor with 5 seconds to go. I think overall he's done a pretty good job defensively moving his feet, but it was really good to see him have a bounce back game against the Hawks last night.
Yeah, I thought he had a nice quick stretch in the game against Charlotte too, but yeah, overall, I thought he'd have a lot more opportunity, I guess, early on. But yeah, you're right. It's still early, and maybe there's something lingering with the injury, or maybe he's just not as much a priority or part of the rotation as I thought he'd be, which is okay. Like we've seen, like I wasn't expecting THJ to like put up as many shots and make as many of them as he is. So it makes sense, I guess.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Anthony, thank you again, man. We appreciate you jumping on here with us on a Saturday afternoon, happily after a Pistons win. Why don't you just really quickly make sure everybody knows where they can find you online and where they can see what you're working on.
They can follow me on Pistons Talk on all social media platforms. I'm pretty sure I'm on all social media platforms. I even made a True Social on accident one time, but I haven't been on since then. But yeah, this Pistons Talk on all podcast platforms, social media platforms. That's where you can find me. I appreciate you guys having me on again.
Yeah, Anthony, thanks for coming on. And I mean, all your content is great, but specifically, I've enjoyed like the post-game scores and like memes that you post with the score. I saw Ron Holland actually like reposted one to his story. I think it might have been after the first win, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I could tell you a funny story. So over the summer, Malik Beasley like gave me a follow, and then he saw that I think it was the Philly game that he had shared, and he was like, "Yo, that's funny as fuck." Well, we're all laughing right now in the locker room because I had interviewed Corey Woods a couple of months ago, right before, or not even, maybe a couple of weeks ago. It feels like a couple of months because the season's just going by. But he was telling me how engaged they are in the locker room versus Monty, where like they talk shit in the locker room to each other like crazy. Like Tolu Smith, I'm sure you know, he like broke his hand. Jalen Duren, a guy said, "No one gives a fuck about your hand. Get my towel, Rook." Like shit like that.
That's amazing. Yeah. The vibes definitely seem a lot better. So that's awesome. Yeah, it seems like they've been engaged. Like I saw Malik Beasley has been posting on Twitter and everything too, which is cool to see. It's fun to see that engagement. And yeah, I always, win or loss, I enjoy whatever like the post game score meme is that you're posting. But cool. Yeah, you got to, no matter what happens. But yeah, thank you again for joining. We'll definitely have to have you back on again soon to chat Pistons hoops. And everyone, thank you for joining us live or whether you're listening in the podcast feed. Reminder, you can call our phone line to ask a question and hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys again for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.